So, hello, Simon. How are you?
I'm very good.
First of all, I would like to say a big thank you for joining me. You are actually the very first guy who I'm talking about e-commerce in English language. Um, but I thought it's gonna be a super relevant topic what we're gonna talk about it today, because in Lithuania, where basically my whole audience is, people love working with Chinese suppliers from Lithuania. They do a lot of drop shipping using Chinese suppliers. At the same time, I'm not sure how many of them know English language, but I hope it's gonna be majority, and I do hope people will hear you and will get some good tips, tricks, and interesting stuff from you.
Cool. Thanks so
So,
much.
Simon, you've been living in China for how long?
It's been 10 years. Yeah, I've lived there for 10 years.
10 straight years, or it was some pauses in
Y-
between?
Yeah, no, straight years. I've had my first trip to China was into Hong Kong was 2005, and that was my first time. And then 2007 was there for 6 weeks, and in 2010 started looking for a job in China and started working there from 2011 until recently, and recently moved to Europe to set up the business here for the Chinese company.
What made you to go to live in China? Because for the European guy, it must be a big change.
Yeah, it's a huge change for me. I really got inspired by the trips that I did before in 2005. I still remember I was walking on a Sunday evening at 10 p.m. and it was just crowded. I had to shuffle my way through the streets, and I was like, "My God, what kind of place is this?" I never had that anywhere in the world, so that really triggered me. And then I was studying international business and economics, and I thought I want to do something with international trade. And obviously, China is going to be part of that. So I did my thesis in 2007. And Shanghai, the vibe of Shanghai, the city itself, was like New York. I really
Okay.
liked that. And I felt inspired. I think people are chasing their dream. And still now China is chasing their China dream. Every Chinese is chasing their China dream, which is for entrepreneurship and for the excitement and the energy in the city. You can just feel it. And that really made me like, I want to be part of that. I don't know for how long. I didn't expect to last for 10 years, but yeah, I did. So I'm married with a Chinese. I have 2 kids, and I'm, yeah, sort of like a quarter of my life has been in China. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a decade. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, so you loved Shanghai. You thought you want to come back to China to get more experience of this country, of this maybe particular city. By the way, my New York is my favorite city, so maybe I need to go to
Oh,
Shanghai one day too.
yeah, yeah, you should. You should.
But yeah, you still needed to have something to do there. You didn't probably go like a tourist for a long time. Did you have some plan before going, or how was the whole change?
Yeah, so 2007 when I was there, I was doing my thesis, and then I decided I want to work in China before I turned 30. At that time, I was 27 or 26. So then I started looking for a job in the Netherlands. Hopefully, they will send me to China. I
Okay.
found a job, but they never end up sending me because normally, if you go as an expat, you need to have a skill before they send you there. So I thought 3 years would be enough for me to build up a skill, and then they can send me there. After 3 years, they still didn't send me there. Then I booked a holiday for 2 weeks, 1 week Shanghai, 1 week Beijing, just trying to connect with the people that my friends know, that I know, or whoever knows someone, get them a coffee or a dinner or anything that would help me to get connected. And during that trip, I got into contact with a few companies, and one of them offered me a job. And yeah, and that made me decide to move full in 2011. So it started out with a holiday. I sacrificed my holiday to look for a job. Eventually I found one. I found that to find something you really want, you have to be with the people that are doing it in places where it's happening, which is called proximity. You need to be The proximity principle, I think, is very important for looking for any opportunity you want to chase. And for me, it was my China dream, is living and working in China. So yeah.
That's so interesting, because most of the people probably they dream about California, like Silicon Valley, New York City, countries like this, and you were dreaming about China. That's interesting. So it wasn't an accident. You went there like a tourist, but you were looking for a job. You tried to make some connections by going to some events, some places, right?
It is not an accident. I was really looking for a job. I applied for jobs online. Nobody responded. And I heard from the people that I met before is in China, it's like if you call today, you say, hey, I'm interested in a job. Do you have anything? Yeah, sure. Come by tomorrow or this afternoon even.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not there, I cannot do that. It's in China, it's really like this. So if you're not in the neighborhood, not in the space, very hard. So that's why I thought I needed to be there to be able to get what I wanted.
Okay, that makes sense. So what was your first job and how did you get it? How was the paperwork? Because I guess you needed to get a visa and stuff like this.
Yeah, you need to get for a working visa. So that was a funny story. Normally, when you get it for a working visa, you need to get a health certificate. You need to get all medical doctors saying that you are okay, so that you can enter the country. I didn't do that on time, so I got a tourist visa to enter the country, and then later transfer that to a working visa. My first employer was TNT Post, the logistic company.
Okay.
And they offered me a job. I started there with a much lower paycheck as what I was getting in the Netherlands. It was really a step back in that sense when it comes to financial, but it allowed me to be where I wanted to be, and that was the main thing. And after 6 months, they announced that they will close the department that I was working. So you imagine, for 3 years I was trying to look a job, finally found a job, and they closed down. So again, I went into my network trying to find something, and somebody knew someone who was looking for a new general manager for a Dutch trading company. And I interviewed, got the job, did that for 8 years. And then since last year, May, I joined HyperSKU to build their Europe presence.
That's so interesting. Did you speak Chinese back in a day? Do you speak Chinese now?
Once it was clear that I could get a job there, I took some lessons, but very basic. I learned most of it by trial and error in the beginning. I took classes maybe 6 hours a week. My wife is Chinese now wife. At that time, I came as a single. And the last 6 years, my mother-in-law lived with us. And a lot of the meetings, or if I visit the factory, the meetings or dinners were Chinese. So eventually, I can speak Chinese. I don't think it's fluent, but it's good enough. It's good enough to have a conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so it is not mandatory to speak Chinese if you wanna start working in China, right? It's enough for you to know English language, and then you can still get something and go through all the processes while you're learning.
Yes, it's not mandatory. It's beneficial if you can to connect with colleagues better and family members for that sake, or suppliers, so it helps. But for cities like Shanghai, particularly, is not necessary.
Okay, I understand. What was your biggest cultural shock when you moved from Europe to China? Because one thing is to be there for 2 weeks as a tourist, to go to see some places, to go to some restaurants and stuff, and the other thing to start a life in that country. You probably faced a lot of different stuff when you used to experience in Europe. What was the most shocking experiences and differences?
For me, it was like continuously like a roller coaster, up and down and up and down, up and down, particularly emotionally. Because when I came there were not so many apps. Now there are many apps that can help you to make your life convenient, translating, just show the address, this is where I want to go, and everything's taken care of. At that time, no. So you actually, every time you went outside, you had to communicate. Taxi drivers don't speak English. Stores don't speak English. Restaurants, you only have a menu with Chinese characters. So you had to figure your way out. And making a screenshot or a picture and then it will be translated, at that time was not there. Now it's there. For me, that was challenging. So every time I went outside, I had to arrange things. When it comes to paperwork. But that's also the excitement. So some days you were like, yes, okay, let's do this. Because every day was an obstacle. And some days like, I don't want to go outside. It's too much trouble. So I think that's normal for everyone who experiences that stuff. I like the vibe, especially the what you do outside of work is mostly with non-Chinese because you have a similar interest. You also try to relieve, so you meet so many people from all over the world. One of my best friends is from Lithuania, actually. So
Oh,
it's really,
nice.
really cool to have this kind of exposure with friends from people from all over the world, with their take, with their background, with their holidays, with their festivals. It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so every day was like a surprise. If you go to a restaurant and you have no idea what's on the menu, you can just choose random stuff, and it's like a gift
Yeah.
box. You don't know what you're gonna get, and
Yeah.
it's funny and fun in a way. You mentioned you have some Lithuanian friend, good friend. Who is
Yeah.
she or he?
Her name is Lina. Her last name is Partiv. She will kill me. I cannot pronounce her last name. Partivichota, something like that. She's a very close friend from, I think I know her for 5 years. She's running a Litau. Litau is a trading company helping
Oh yeah.
Lithuanian companies to enter the Chinese market. Maybe you heard her and the
Yes,
company.
yes, yes, yes. I do.
We did a podcast, a webinar with her once, also about China and e-commerce. And I'm running a podcast together with her, the China Business Cast, about doing business in China. So she's a host, I'm a host. We both take different people to interview.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so yeah, she's a great friend of mine. Helps me a lot to when you're running a business. Before I was running a business and expanding, it's to just mirror some thoughts. And she has tons of ideas and very inspirational woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen her on some videos on some TV shows in Lithuanian market too.
Yeah.
So she's quite, I would say, popular for the people who are interested in this kind of stuff, of course.
Yeah.
So China is still obviously the leader of manufacturing stuff. Why do you think China is the leading one? And which countries are coming for China? Which countries are developing and might
Yeah.
be new China in the future when it comes to manufacturing stuff?
Yeah. Good question. For me, China is still leading, and one of the main reasons they're leading is the infrastructure in China is really well set up. Different cities are producing this different products. So one city is responsible for one kind of category. So that means that if you want to have a like a lamppost, or you want to have some kind of computer tool, or you want just toys, most of the factories that are producing that are in the same area, in the same city, sometimes even. So you kind of like drive into a road with full factories all producing the same thing. That means that
Interesting.
all the supply, all the resources, raw material, technology, labor, is all around that place. So there's an ecosystem where you can scale. You can scale very quickly. So if you need more resources today or tomorrow, you can get it. That really helps to produce very fast and very efficient. That's something that I don't really see in many countries elsewhere, that it's been developed in this kind of way with a great infrastructure and very focused on the niche. That, I think, is a huge advantage that people can't really compete with. When it comes to labor cost in China is increasing. I think every year double digit, so more than 10% cost increase, which is a determining factor to at some point look somewhere else. I do see that the efficiency for labor-intensive work is still higher in China than, for example, Southeast Asia. In China, they're still more hardworking, more diligent, more efficient on completing the production than compared to Southeast Asia, where sometimes they're a little bit slower, inefficient, and lower production per hour or per item, which is still at this point what it is. I think for labor-intensive jobs, it will sooner or later move more to Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh as well. But for technology-driven solutions, will be very much still the next 5 years still coming from China. Yeah.
The infrastructure is a very interesting stuff here. I didn't know they have based like this. was it a government decision, or it became like this naturally? How did they end up in this kind of great infrastructure?
It's government. So each the government have a national strategy, a regional strategy, like provincial level, but also city level, and they've assigned areas that are particularly well. They have the space, so they can still assign a certain area which is available for the production of certain products. So it's really designed. They didn't happen by accident. Far from it. No. So you look at where are natural resources nearby, what ports are nearby, what resources will I need for the production, what temperature, what climate do I need. So they really designed it. Yeah.
Okay, the smart move.
Yeah.
Shanghai, is it about electronics? What kind of niche is for Shanghai?
Nearby Shanghai, you have two big cities that are called Hangzhou and Suzhou. These two places are very fashion. So you will see a lot of fabrics, clothing are from that area. Shanghai itself I would say, is more like the business center that's much more financial, legal driven, while Beijing is much more political. And then Shenzhen is much more electronics. Most
Shenzhen.
electronics, yeah, so in the south of China. So Shanghai itself, I don't think it's huge for any production. It's more nearby area, like what I mentioned, Hangzhou and Suzhou. And then in Ningbo, you have a lot of shoes and bags and so those kind of suitcases. So it is yeah. I think I have a map somewhere, a picture of China, and then showing where products are being made, where in China. I will look it up. Maybe I can share with you later. You can share with your audience later at some point.
Yeah, it would be super interesting. What do you see as the biggest differences between Chinese suppliers, Chinese manufacturers, and Europeans or American ones?
Yeah. Obviously, the Chinese are very entrepreneurial. So therefore, they hardly say no. Quite often, they maybe instead of no, and but maybe means most likely a no. But for us, it seems like okay, so it's possible.
Okay.
So that's something that causes some confusion sometimes, because the journey of just there's so much hope for growth that it's not mature, and that means that people are sometimes cutting corners or willing to cut corners just to be able to get a short-term return, because the future is not certain. There's no certainty about tomorrow because the rules and things can change. If the government decides tomorrow you're out, you're out. If your supplier suddenly increases cost, you suddenly have to pivot and change your model. So that's something that is just a reality. And Chinese are fine with that reality. You just take it as it comes. But it doesn't mean that you are per se planning things on long term. A 5-year strategy doesn't really matter. You're not even sure what you're going to be doing next year. I think that's the big difference when it comes to European or Western countries, how they approach their business with budgeting, with planning, with timelines, with project teams and milestones and all these kind of details is something that is Chinese like, let's get started. What do we need to do to get started? Okay, this, okay, and then we'll see. And then take it as it comes. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. They're obviously very different. But I found that Chinese are much more pragmatic and deal with it whatever comes on their way instead of planning things ahead and trying to figure out what's coming. And both are not bad. It's just China obviously sometimes slows down because suddenly there's a bump on the road that you didn't expect because you never checked. Western companies, that's more they're more aware
planning,
of these
more strategic. Yeah. If I ask like this, if I get a promise from European supplier, promise of anything, and if I get a promise for Chinese supplier, European supplier is much more likely to keep the promise than the Chinese supplier, right? That would be a true statement?
Yes, in general, yes. Yeah.
Because I remember we had some kind of situations in the past where I know that, for example, some company has the agreement with some European company that they're going to be producing stuff only for them. and they are not going to be selling for anybody else in this region or some different regions. But if you come and you say, look, we have money, and we have much more money than you are getting from this partner where you have the agreement with, they will talk to you, and they will start working with you, and they would not give too much of a damn about that agreement which they made.
Yeah. I think for Chinese, a contract is a starting point. For Western people, a contract is normally the end of a negotiation. So the negotiation normally starts once you have a contract in China. And that happens quite a lot, that you fix the price, you fixed everything, and then we signed a contract. Yes, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. For Chinese, it doesn't mean that much. I would say that things are still negotiable. It's very economic driven. So if somebody can, so let's say you have 1,000 pieces of a product, and you ask them, can you keep that for him, for them, for me, or whatever? And then someone else comes and offers more, then the stock is gone. It is purely economic driven, that decision, which I understand, but that's not really something that people. Yeah, you already said you would have it for me, so that causes can cause a lot of frustration. We're trying to kind of solve that because we understand the Western mindset, we understand the Chinese way of working, so we have to ask much more clarifying questions just to be able to make sure the expectations are aligned.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you are dealing with Chinese suppliers, you have to do your homework. You have to know their culture, and you have to understand that these kind of things might happen, and you shouldn't be surprised when it happens. But let's say if the Chinese supplier promises me something and he doesn't keep the promise, and I come to him and I say, like, dude, what happened? Why did you screw me over? What are the usual excuses coming from them?
So first of all, I think it's interesting. Sometimes you're talking to a chat and you think you're talking to one person, but quite often you're talking to multiple person. They're just using the same account and they're giving you some kind of 24-hour service, but it's not per se that you always talk to the same person. I think that's interesting that people don't always realize when they talk with Chinese suppliers. Of course, they're easy to make an excuse or to come up with or apologize. But in general, they will say that there's a delay with the supplier or that it was never shipped out. They normally give someone else the blame, which is out of their control. They normally don't really own the problem. For us, it's always important just to know more than one person within that company, preferably also the manager or the boss, especially if you buy big quantities. Just so you're able to have someone, because the salesperson KPI is to get you to buy.
To make a sale, yeah.
And that's normal, whatever it takes. So they're not going to cancel the order for you, even if that might be the best, because they already know it's going to take 2 weeks or more. They will most likely not do that because that will impact their own performance, their own commission. That's something that, that it's not always in the benefit of the seller.
So they are not going to tell you that, hey, look, man, I made a mistake, or we got some offer which we couldn't resist. I'm sorry, this is how we work here. They don't say it. They make up something.
Most likely, it depends who you're talking to. Because if you're talking to a trading company, like AliExpress is full of trading companies, they're not the owner of the goods. They're just a middleman as well. They have nothing to lose in a way. If you're talking to a factory, they're more likely to own it because they cannot blame the supplier because they're the supplier. Then it's just that they didn't schedule well enough or something else came up with a higher priority. They're more likely to be more open and honest because they are building something for long term. For trading companies, is much more quick earnings, quick revenue.
I see. I remember the funny story. I ordered something from AliExpress, and I could see that the shipment is not moving, and the tracking is a fake tracking because it's not working at all after some time. And I messaged the guy like, what's happening? Why you didn't send my product? And he said, we sent your product, but the plane crashed. So we're gonna refund you. Is that okay? I'm like, come on, just find a better excuse. No plane crashed, it's
Wow. I didn't hear that before.
yeah,
Yes.
it was the most funny excuse which I heard so
Wow.
partners, suppliers, whatever. Um, yeah, when we are talking about Chinese mentality, about how they are not, how to say, respecting long-term relationship with the partners and so on. What's happening with Chinese counterfeit goods? Everybody knows that basically most of the stuff which are fake, it's coming from China. Um, why is it like that? How people in China treat counterfeits? How government look to it?
Yeah.
Why is it still that a big of a deal?
Yeah. First of all, the Chinese do care about long-term relationships, particularly with people around them, their family, their friends, their close communities. Very much important. That's really the only thing you can rely on in China is this kind of relationship. So that's long term is definitely there. When it comes to business relationships, also very much long term. If I meet a supplier, I need to visit them 3 times to be able to have a relationship that can last long, that I can call them 2 or 3 years after and they still know me and still value me. I think the long term relationship is not is a foundation for China. You just see it when it comes to short economic relationships, like when it comes to drop shipping, or then it's much more just money driven. It's just so there's, because you don't see each other, it becomes distant. So when you don't see each other, you cannot really have this connection and have that long term relationship. Therefore, it becomes a replaceable relationship, something you can easily change with someone else. And that's something
Okay.
I wanted to share with you on the
Okay.
relationship, because
Okay.
that's might be a misunderstanding otherwise. When it
Yes.
comes to counterfeit, it's funny. Whenever I have friends or had friends visiting China, we went to the fake market to buy anything that's available, fake, very cheap. When I take Chinese on a trip or a visit in Europe, they want to buy the real brand, the real deal. So the whole fake market is more or less much more for foreigners than for locals, actually. It is a business model because the government also knows if they are going to close this down, a lot of factories will get into trouble and they want to have growth, sustainable growth. So it is a model that has been sort of like accepted that it's happening and it's out there. You have fake markets, they're fixed location, fixed sellers, fixed products. There's nothing that you cannot, everyone knows about it. It's not something that is under the ground. But when it comes to counterfeit, quite often one factory is producing a product, a real product with the authorization, with all the rights, and then next to it, they open a daughter company that's producing the same product, but then at a much lower cost, with fake well, basically fake. This is happening. It's a business model. It's not. I think it's just it is what it is, and the only thing you can do is try to protect yourself as a brand owner. Yeah.
Do I understand correctly that everybody knows that counterfeit manufacturing is happening in China? Government knows, obviously, but they are not doing anything to stop it on purpose because they know if they're gonna stop it, it's gonna cause a lot of troubles to a lot of companies. Is that correct?
That's what I think. I think that's definitely a big part of it because they're aware of it. It's not a secret. Of course, they're trying to, for international brands, they're trying to prevent this from happening. But a lot of the regulations in China are not that mature yet. That IP, intellectual property, there's new rules coming still every year about intellectual property, about protecting software, about technology, about product, about design. It is still that the law is not that mature yet. So for the domestic market, you cannot even sometimes go to court because the law is not there to support the court case. That's something that's
Okay.
just a reality. So you see, there are billions of products on AliExpress, but how a lot of them are not. You cannot sell them on Amazon or eBay simply
Yes.
because they're IP rights, and that's something that is still China has to develop this more, and it will happen. I'm sure that it will happen. It's now just they know it's there, they know that it needs to be improved, but it's not ready yet to where they. Yeah, it takes a few years.
Okay, you also mentioned a very interesting fact, which I was thinking about for a long time. You were saying that there is a manufacturer company which is producing, like, for example, some Nike shoes, and they are producing it, they are original shoes, they are official manufacturer and so on. But at the same time, they are producing also the same quality, the same how to say, like the very same product, but with the other company, and it doesn't it does you cannot treat it as original, but actually this product is the exact same quality because it goes with exact same machines, and it's made exactly same like the original one.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
it's happening, and normally it's quite close to the original factory. Yeah,
Because I was wondering, it's not a secret. Probably everybody has some kind of fake stuff in their home for like on purpose or accidentally. And sometimes when you compare those two products, you really cannot see difference. Like sometimes even this fake product is the better quality than original one, and you can get it like for 10 times cheaper. So
yeah. I must say
yeah.
that platforms like Alibaba, AliExpress, they have a department closing down and chasing sellers that are selling IP protected products. It is a department where really hundreds of people are working. It's
Mhm.
just that once you identify one, they close it and they open a new one. So it is like continuous. It's hard to stop, but there are a lot of actions being taken by local platforms, by government, trying to prevent it, but it's still work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah, as a drop shipper myself, I'm not doing like too much of drop shipping as of now. I'm trying to go to some how to say some other models of e-commerce. But I encountered myself 4 lawsuits. I paid around probably in total around 10 grand US dollars to make a settlement with the companies, and I was not selling, and I'm not still selling those counterfeit goods on purpose. But sometimes you just cannot understand that this is some kind of counterfeit, because you look to the product and it seems like it's a very generic
Yeah.
plastic thingy, and you cannot imagine that somebody in US registered a brand and then registered this kind of shape of this plastic thingy, and now Chinese manufacturers make counterfeits. But they should be very aware of the market also, because to choose what kind of stuff to copy, what kind of stuff to make fake, you still have to understand and have to know that's going to be sold. Of course, we know those biggest brands like Nike's, Apple, and stuff like this, but they are making fake products of very simple stuff too, or
Yeah.
where like the IP owner is the very little company, so they have to do a good research. They have to have probably a very good team which is working
Yeah.
only on this thing.
Yeah, I think for IP, platforms like Amazon and eBay are very easy targets because it's search engine driven. So you can just run a loop for identifying companies that selling the products that you own the IP rights for. When you're using platforms like Shopify, it's much more less likely that they find you, because
Yeah.
then it will be a much bigger loop on Google or on other platforms. But so eBay and Amazon is very easier to spot. So there are tools where you can find that, whether it's protected or not. There are even plugins on top of Amazon where you can find it yourself as a seller. I'm not sure about eBay, but I think as well. It is these kinds are available, but you have to understand, for us as an agent or as a supplier, a lot of these IP are not registered in China. They're registered outside of China, because
Yes.
IP you also need to register in the region or the geographic region where you're selling. And then it becomes almost impossible to check. So we don't do international brands. That's a big red no. Whenever there's doubt, we're trying to check, but some products, it slips through. It's like you said, you who knows about this product? You have to be either very niche or specific to be able to identify that it's been registered. And then it's about, where is it registered? Is it where outside of China?
Do Chinese manufacturers do fakes of other Chinese brands?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Also.
There's continuously competition for people to find a space to earn money. I think that's it's part of the game. Yeah.
Okay. When you see a statement made in China, what first comes to your mind about this product?
For me, I think the made in China is changing into designed in China. That's the image, at least, that China wants to go to. That means that the original designs are from China and made in China. Because made in China still does have a little bit of a negative name. Normally means cheap and low quality. The developments that I see is not in line with that. I think high quality products, most of the high quality products that we're using in daily life are made in China. So it's not per se that it's low quality and cheap. The image is still there, but I think that will change in the coming 5 to 10 years, where China will be Chinese brands will be in the shopping streets as a store. They will be much more in your household. I think maybe you check the European Cup. There were 3 Chinese brands already in the background of the sponsoring: Vivo, TikTok, and Alipay.
Yes.
It's already in our households, basically. So that's gonna get more and more, and then made in China becomes designed in China, and everyone is looking for these China created products that are still affordable, much more affordable than the Western versions, still good quality. So I think at this moment, if you ask someone, probably negative tone. In 5 years from now, probably not so much.
Yeah, actually, I can feel the same thing. Like some years ago, when the product is from China and you see this made in China, you think it's cheap quality, low quality, and at the same time you can feel it. You cannot compare it to made in Germany, But like now, I have products which are produced in China, like totally Chinese brand, or some generic stuff which was made in China, and it's a very good quality, and I'm happy about it. And yeah, I can feel the same, that it's not kind of that big of a red alert anymore when you see it made in China.
Yeah.
How much of quality impact does the money have? Because usually, if you ask Chinese suppliers to make some stuff, they're gonna give you price, and if you're gonna negotiate with them, they're gonna say, okay, we can make it not for $1,000, we can make it for $800, and I'm happy because I think I just saved $200, right? But at the same time, I'm gonna get probably the lower quality product, right?
Yeah.
So what would be your advice when you are negotiating with a manufacturer from China?
Yeah, everything is available in China. We had an example recently also with leggings. Leggings were selling quite well online. And we ordered samples from different suppliers sent to our office. And we found out definitely that the more expensive one was much better quality. And the cheap one, you probably don't want to sell that one, just because you get a lot of refunds and complaints. But yeah, it is the same legging on the picture, and it is a much cheaper price. When it comes to advising, I would ask the suppliers already to give you several options on quality. That can be, for example, this kind of leggings is normally about the thickness of the fabric, so you can ask for this, or there can be the type of material, whether it's plastics or aluminium or whatever combination of material. What is it made of? And in this way, you can get much better understanding, because if you're going to sell a product, you need to do your own research on the product quality as well. So for that, it's important to ask, because just simply ask, okay, I'm getting a low price, great. Then your second question is, okay, what did you change? Did you change supplier? Did you change material? That's something that a Chinese normally will not easily, honestly answer. But if you ask in upfront, what are my choices? What material choices do I have, and what's the price with it? Then that's better. And then to ask that, I think, that will be particularly for clothing and those kinds of things. Yeah,
That's nice. That's very good advice, I think. How to select a good and reliable supplier from China?
To select a reliable supplier, most of the suppliers are present online. So doing a review on their online reviews with Google Translate, sometimes if the supplier is really Chinese, that would definitely be a good thing. When it comes to reliability, for us, response time is very important. If someone is responding very slow or not really answering the question well of what you've been asking, you're getting like a copy paste answer, it's already a no, because we know that communication is much more important than the price. To have someone that can answer your questions, who's willing to inform you, give you additional information, is more detailed, is normally much better. But that starts also with your own homework by asking the right questions from the beginning. If you're asking, hey, do you have this product? Yes, we do. What's your price? Okay, here's the price. If you're starting like, okay, hey, I want to sell this product. Do you have capacity? What's your capacity? How many colors are you selling? What's the size of when it comes to clothing? Is there a difference with European size, Chinese size? If you're asking more detailed questions, you're also a more reliable buyer. So you're also being treated the way you treat them. In the end, I think that's common sense, but it's not always clear, because you're just, I need a supplier. I got to order. I need to get it fast. I need it to be fulfilled. Okay, it's fulfilled. Okay, I'm done. Next. For that, I think you're missing some steps when it comes to sustainability and also the relationship that you're trying to build. Even if it's for 1 order or 10 orders or 100 orders, you're building a reputation for your store or for yourself, which I think is worth the investment of asking some more questions than just what's your price.
Okay, so basically, first of all, you have to be serious, and you have to understand that they're evaluating you as well, and you are not the one who's in charge of the whole deal here. And yeah, second, response time, reviews. When it comes to reviews, where can you check the reviews? Like, is there particular platforms where you should look for it?
I mean, AliExpress definitely has reviews in Alibaba. Normally, it shows also the company name, so you can Google the company name, or you can sometimes even Google it in China is the Baidu, Baidu, where you can also get normally some information about the company, and then it might be in Chinese, but with Google Translate, you can even read everything basically by just copy paste the link into Google Translate. A lot of suppliers where we source a lot of locally, so we're using Taobao and 1688, and then there's some other like social media platforms just to get inspired on products that are available. For us, we're sourcing local. We're not using AliExpress to buy from. We're always checking the reviews of the local suppliers that we're dealing with, just to be able to vet them from our side as much as we can. And I think, you as a seller can also, if you want to buy by yourself, then if it's too much, then use an agent and make sure that the agent does that part. If you want to do by yourself, then it's worth doing the homework.
When it comes to the amount of reviews, do you have some specific numbers, like not less than 100 reviews or not less than 500 reviews?
We look at orders, the number of orders that they've done, and the number of reviews. So we look at two things. That needs to be in balance, obviously. Normally, number of orders, you also see in the platforms, they have a crown or they have a star or they have some kind of, to be able to identify how well they've been doing, how long have they been doing this. So we'll also look at when did they register, how active have they been. And then you see reviews, and normally you see the recent reviews. For us, at least 50 reviews. That will be a good qualifier. And when it comes to orders, it needs to be thousands of orders. And the company needs to exist at least 3 years. For us, these are more or less qualifiers that we look for.
Okay. And if you are in communication outside the platforms, but you can see that the guy is talking properly, or the other part is talking properly to you, and you are kind of finishing the deal, and it comes to the payment, would you recommend to do like 50% of payment up front and the rest of the money after you get the product, or you can pay everything up front if you did your homework and it seems legit, or you never make any upfront payments, or you always try to use PayPal or something? What would be your insights on when it comes to payment?
It depends on the quantity that you're buying, obviously, and how regular your orders will be. And most of the time, if it's a bulk order, suppliers are not willing to negotiate on the payment terms. And normally they ask you 100%. If you're a repeat order, then you can do 70-30 and then later 50-50. That's quite common. You can negotiate the payment terms, but not at the first order. I do recommend people to do that as well, because you need to build the trust. You don't trust them, but they also don't trust you. And in the first order normally is not the biggest order. It's also a test for both sides. For me, it's like worth the investment. Say, I'm willing, to pay, I'm willing to go. Let's do that. If it's for B2C, small parcels, drop shipping, then it's difficult to negotiate your payment terms unless you have really like 50 orders a day or 100 orders a day, which will guarantee some reliability. Besides that, I think it's hard, because once the parcel has been placed, it's left and you cannot stop it anymore. The supplier most likely is also difficulty with, once it's sent out, you cannot ask it to come back. It's then on the way.
So it's totally normal when you finish negotiations to make the full payment and expect that he's gonna send you the products and everything will be okay.
Yeah. With PayPal and credit cards, quite often you can also start a case, and then you can claim the money back. So if you've been with a faulty supplier, quite often people can get their money back from their payment provider.
Okay, what is the best payment method to receive the money for Chinese supplier? What do they prefer?
They prefer any way you're willing to pay. That doesn't really matter too much. I think when it comes to big amount payments, the fees for a bank transfer, like TransferWise, is much lower than PayPal or credit card. So for that point of view, if it's a big transaction, then it's better to use this kind of bank transfer. But if it's a small amount, and small, I mean less than 5,000 US dollar, then credit card or PayPal should be sufficient, and all of them will have this kind of account.
Okay. If we take an average manufacturer, and what for them seems like a small order and big order, like in quantity or in money wise?
Quantity less than 5,000 pieces is small.
Less than 5,000 pieces.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's more than that, then becomes easier to negotiate. If you want to build a brand, then it depends on the supplier, what's their MOQ. And quite often it's 500 pieces or 1,000 pieces, which is the lowest minimum order quantity to have a logo or to have something customized. Some have higher, but normally that's the case when it comes to branding or those kind of things. Very rarely you have like 100 pieces or 200 pieces, but not so often.
Yeah, so if you contact proper manufacturer and you want to order like few hundred, you don't mean nothing to them, right?
No, you didn't know me. No, that's why also for small orders, for like a few hundred pieces, it's sometimes more beneficial to work with a trading company than with the manufacturer, because for the manufacturer you're nothing, for the trading company you're something. They're already bought the bulk from the manufacturer, and they're able to customize this for you. So then having a middleman suddenly makes a huge difference, because you can build a brand. I think that's what everyone wants to be with the source, but the source are big suppliers producing thousands and thousands of pieces every day. They don't care enough about you to be able to build the brand you want to build, or the online business you want to build. So then having a trading company or a middleman actually has benefits.
What is a typical charge? What is a typical commission from a trading company? No, from the middleman who's helping you
Yeah.
in the whole communication process between you and the manufacturer?
Normally 5 to 20% out of the purchase price, purchase cost, the cost. Yeah, 5 to
What
20%.
I assume that 5% if it is a big order and 20% if it's a smaller order, something like this.
Yeah, it's more, most of the time it's related to quantity and frequency. Yeah.
Okay. We also had some questions from the audience, and I'm looking now to them, and they are asking how to detect if you're buying a fake product or original product from China. Is there any methods?
You can search, you have the product already, you have the product link, and you have a picture normally. So you can search on the product picture online as well. Nowadays you can do that. And then you can also find a lot of information online, whether something is already protected or whether some reviews or things like that. That's something you can do on Google. That's that I'm thinking. Definitely from the supplier side, if they are if you're dealing with a manufacturer, most of the time you can see that on the company name as well, whether that's a manufacturer or a trading company. Specifically for the Chinese name, you can see it. But if it's an international name, quite often you can also see that as a trading in there in the name itself. When it comes to a factory, normally they have the license. So then you can sometimes even ask for the license if you find your research shows it is a protected product, if they are licensed or authorized to sell, and then they can authorize you as a seller as well. So that's something. Besides that, it's there are tools that I mentioned on Amazon and eBay, I think plugins that can help you. It's sometimes they're paid, but it saves you a lot of trouble. That will check whether there are some products have ownership or are protected. That's I think from the front end, mostly what you can do. From with the Chinese suppliers, it's difficult because the suppliers, the manufacturer knows, but they're not disclosing this. At a trading company, they also don't really care too much about that normally.
Okay.
So
Another question. It's mostly related to AliExpress. Why typical Chinese supplier will lie to you when you buy choosing some particular shipping method, but they're going to send using the other shipping method?
yeah, normally and for them it's an economic decision. They don't care enough about you to give you honest information. They care about the profitability. So you want a cheaper price? Fine. They can do two things: offer you lower quality products or a cheaper shipping method. These are the two ways they can do it. And they don't have to, they might not tell you that because you ask for a low price, you're getting a low price. Then they will figure out on the back end how can I match this price and still be profitable. It's just for them an economic decision.
Okay, so even if you choose like the better shipping method and they get the order and they see that, oh no, we're not making money on this one, so we're gonna be sending the other shipping method and we don't care. Okay. What to expect of shipping from China horizon, considering the prices, timelines, and etc. Because now obviously the whole shipping was very very complicated. I think when the COVID started, the prices raised. timelines got bigger, longer.
Yeah.
What to expect in the near future?
China is going to be leading the way. Companies like Alibaba, they have a logistics department that's called Cainiao. Their ambition is to deliver globally in 72 hours. That's their ambition, which means 3 days, which is huge, very ambitious. They are not able to do that yet, but they're going to lead the way and they're going to invest in it. From a delivery point of view, it is possible to deliver parcels within 5 days. It's just that it's not everything is connected well enough to make that a reality. It's not a consistent flow because there are too many players in between that want to control their own flow, and therefore it causes delay. Technically, it should be possible. So Chinese companies gonna lead the way, which will be a big game changer because then you can deliver globally in 3 to 5 days. In the next 3 to 5 years, that's gonna be the norm. And not with the prices that we are now used to with TNT Express or FedEx or UPS or DHL. It's going to be a standard that's going to be the norm for international deliveries. And how they do it, China is buying airlines or airplanes with their own flights, their own charters, their own line hauls. They have their own warehouses. They have their own employees. They have everything in place to arrange local delivery and international delivery and make that a very seamless flow. That's gonna be the future. I'm not worried about that part. I think and last year has been very challenging. It just has really accelerated the developments that the Chinese were planning to make, and now make it much more faster reality because they want to control the supply chain by themselves instead of relying on others. I'm quite excited about these international deliveries in the coming few years. Yeah.
Definitely. And again, we are talking about a great infrastructure. Like when we were talking about cities and how they make niche products, each of the city here as well, they're investing in infrastructure. So that's nice. I have one question. Sometimes you used to buy some little thing from AliExpress, and let's say you used to pay 50 US dollar cents, half of a dollar, and you was able to get a product which was packaged and which was delivered from China to Europe, to Lithuania in my case. How is it possible for them to still make anything from that sale?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you wonder. For most of the time, it's sent with e-packet, which is China Post. China is still considered by the World Health Organization as an underdeveloped country, which means they have the right to have subsidized rates for postal shipments. That means that normally China Post will pay less to Lithuania Post for the delivery of these parcels because China is considered an underdeveloped country. The Lithuania Post are losing money on that, basically. So partially it's paid by Lithuania Post, in your case. Partially it's also China Post sometimes sponsoring themselves by just keeping the rates very low, or AliExpress is absorbing some of it. It's not technically and operationally it's not possible to ship at $5 US. It's not. It doesn't. Even the order picking in China, normal market price is maybe 2 RMB, which is $0.30. That's only on the order handling. And then local delivery is on the cheapest is also maybe, if it's one piece, is maybe 40 cents, $40. So technically and operationally, it's not possible. It's just subsidized either by the receiving post or by China Post or by AliExpress.
Okay, I understand.
Or the cost is in the product. Sorry. Or the last option is the product cost are absorbing some of the shipping. AliExpress does that quite a lot. They keep the product price sometimes higher to have this shipping less, or vice versa. So sometimes you're paying for it, but it's not quoted as what you think it's paid for.
Yes, I've heard also a story. I don't know, you can agree with that, or you can say this is a fake story, that they usually buy some space in the container, and if you buy a very little piece, this piece takes, like 1 cubic centimeter in the container, and this is how they can sell it and ship it for that little amount. But even at this, even if that stories are true, it's still impossible to make it for half of a dollar, right? It still has to be subsidized.
The big advantage for China Post is that for postal companies, they can book airspace rate based on the actual weight. So if you have a very bulky, big product, they don't care about the volume, about the length, the width, the depth. They don't care about that. It's only about actual weight. That's why there's a big difference sometimes with express prices and postal prices, because they have the space in the airplane. They have an annual contract and a fixed capacity that they already have paid for, and that's a fixed amount based on the most of the likely they pay on the actual weight, just because they're so big.
Okay, interesting stuff. Okay, let's move to HyperSKU and the service which you provide. So actually the audience raised questions. What kind of service do you provide? What kind of commission do you take? What are the conditions? And basically conditions and pricing was the most interesting stuff for the people. So yeah, now it's your time to introduce HyperSKU finally. You told me you guys have some news. You moved even to open a branch in Europe as well. So a lot of interesting stuff, and I hope to hear from you now.
Yeah, I think you've tried our service, so you have a little bit of understanding of what we do. We mostly help online sellers that are buying from China, which can be in bulk or it can be B2C. Majority of our sellers are B2C. Shopify, I think most are Shopify. Using Shopify, they connect the store to our platform. All the orders come in. We source the product, connect the orders. Then the orders are ready to pay. And after it's paid, then we will purchase the product from the supplier, send it to our own warehouse first. And in our own warehouse, we can do branding, add a thank you card, or can combine products into one. And then we ship out to the consumer. For this purchasing part till it's ready, it normally takes 2 to 4 days, depending on where the supplier is located. If the supplier is far away from a warehouse, it takes 4. If it's nearby, the whole process takes 2 days. Some sellers, they want to have stock in our warehouse, so then it will be within 24 hours it's shipped out. And most orders are B2C. For us, then shipping internationally is 7 to 10 days. For like US and most of Europe, is 7 to 10 days. Mostly use working days, but warehouse works 6 days a week, and delivery normally is also 6 days a week. So working days is safe. For us our most interesting customers are customers that have maybe 10 orders a day at least, but it doesn't have to be. If you have 1 order, is also fine. It's just our IT, our backend has been developed in such a way that it makes your work much less. It's very efficient. We talk to multiple suppliers. We're paying them all separately. You only have to pay us. We pay all of them. We communicate with them. All the orders come to us, and then we ship out. And we manage the supply chain. We talk to the supplier, to the logistic companies. You can choose which shipping method you can use before you pay for the order. So that's kind of how we want to help online sellers. If they want branding or they want to have an overseas warehouse. We opened a US warehouse recently. We're planning to do one in Europe soon. And yeah, that's also why I moved to Europe for this company, for HyperSKU, to build a team here, give them local presence. So if anyone is interested in helping other online sellers, also, yeah, reach out to me. We're trying to find a team with people that are excited about e-commerce, want to help online sellers, and we want to build that, and preferably localized, with someone from Lithuania, someone from Spain, someone from Germany that is located there and actually can offer a local experience, like communication, events, meetups. That's the communication part. I think when you compare ourselves, I mean, we have competitors, obviously, when it comes to similar platforms like CJ Dropshipping and Weo. They're less international than our team. Our team speaks German, French, Spanish, Dutch, English, Hebrew, Arabic, which is a big advantage. And then that's an important part for how we differentiate. And then we'll compare to an agent. For us, everything is automized. We're more an IT company than a drop shipping company, I would say. Yeah.
When it comes to the job you do you guys have the most time spent on product sourcing or on shipping, or where is your main focus?
Our main, from a sales and account managers, are mainly focused on communicating. 80% of the time is spent on talk to you on WhatsApp or Skype or whatever group we have, which is for them most of the time. For us, when it comes to sourcing, yes, we spend a lot of time on sourcing, finding the right suppliers. Warehouses, we have multiple warehouses, but shipping is very stable. It's just the data, the IT part. So I think for most of our time spent on account management, communication with the customers, sourcing, and IT development. These three are the majority of our time.
And HyperSKU makes money from sourcing or from shipping, or like where do you make money from?
Our prices are including our margin. So what you see when you have a registered account on HyperSKU.com, you submit a link, and we quote, you get a product price, and you get a shipping cost, and both of them can include in our margin. And that margin is flexible because sometimes it allows us to earn a little bit more. Sometimes we are willing to even no margin just to be able to help each other out. It is looking for a win-win because we want to be an extension of the online seller, which means that they need to be profitable for them as well. So we're quite open and transparent about this is the price and what's your target price? How can I help you to be able to match? And we'll look for other supplier with similar product, same quality, etc., etc. So it's always communicating. Yeah.
And do you do a quality control? For example, if I know that I need to order some particular product and I need like 500 pieces, and I want to use your service, a HyperSKU service as a middleman, I want you to source me the best version of the product I want. Do you also do a quality check? So you would get the product which is like in the best quality, or you just keep focus on just find the product and then do the shipping and so on?
No, it's good that you mentioned this. The reason why we ship orders through our own warehouses is to be able to take out most of the issues. One of the issues is quality, so we do try to check most of the dropshipping orders, B2C orders, whether it's the right color, whether it's the right size, whether it's the same as the product picture. We try to do that. It's not 100% because that's just not possible with the volumes we're doing. For B2B bulk orders, if it's 500 or pieces or 50 or 100, it's important to get instructions on what to check. We're talking to a warehouse staff. They're not always enough developed or equipped to be able to make a judgment what to check. So it is important to be able to say, I want this to be checked. I want that to be, take a picture. I want you to plug it in to see if it works. I want to make sure that this is the right plug, not a US plug. I need a Europe plug. The color needs to be like this. The size. So all these kind of things is based on instructions. We can do our own check, but it will be a visual check. Visual making, nothing is broken. It works. That's it. That's fine. That's something that we can arrange. But it's better to do it with the proper instructions. Yeah.
Do you have some minimum, some minimum amount of the money which your client needs to spend to be a HyperSKU user? Do you differentiate somehow the clients, or like I want to do 10 transactions per month or 1 transaction per month and I still can use your service?
There's no minimum. Anyone can use our service for 1 piece or for 100 pieces or 1,000 pieces. Doesn't matter. Obviously, you get much faster and better, faster service. The service itself is not better or less. It's the same. It's just the response time is normally faster if you're a big account, which I think makes sense from a business point of view. The platform is free, so we only earn when there's an order. and that means the margin on order. If you can imagine that the average order value is maybe $20, yeah, I mean 10% of that is not worth the time that we spent on it.
Yes,
So
definitely.
that's something that we always have to consider. But for us, we know that's a journey. If someone that has only one order today can have 100 orders next month. So it's not a given. In this e-commerce industry, some people are growing so fast that it's important to be there from the beginning. So therefore, we never say no.
Do you also provide some kind of agreements? I will include you into the context. For example, eBay platform is very popular in Lithuania, and there are a lot of dropshippers in Lithuania who are currently using AliExpress platform. If we want to follow eBay terms and conditions, you cannot use other retailers. So it means that you cannot list the product directly from AliExpress or Amazon and so on, and simply after you receive an order, go and order from the other platform like AliExpress and Amazon, right? But eBay allows drop shipping as the model itself. If you have an agreement with some particular supplier who is sending the stuff for you, and he is notifying you about the price, about changes in the prices, changes in the quantity, and so on. And then eBay says, okay, this kind of drop shipping we allow, and you can do it. Do you provide some kind of agreement? Is it possible that you're gonna have some kind of agreement for these kind of situations?
It's definitely possible. We don't have a standard agreement for that. Most of our sellers are at Shopify, less on eBay, but that's not a limitation. If you have a template, I'm happy to take a look at it and then make that as a standard or develop that as a standard. And that's not an issue. For us, it's not an issue. We like that. A contract means a long-term cooperation for us. So for us, we're more than happy to support that.
That's nice, because I think that might be a solution for a lot of people. Because me personally, I'm communicating with a lot of eBay sellers, and lately I can notice that like at least half of the accounts which are doing drop shipping on eBay are being suspended. If the account is old and so on, it's good to go. Nobody touches it. But if, let's say, I want to start drop shipping now and I want to do it on eBay platform, there is a huge chance that you're going to be suspended. And this is important to have everything ready and everything prepared when it comes to drop shipping on platforms. In my case, on eBay platform.
I need proof, like a letter from the supplier, or then there's a delay, or they need tracking numbers, or they need some kind of proof from our side. We're always trying to facilitate that whenever there's a problem with PayPal or Facebook or the platform, we're happy to support the proof, because there's always a story. We're not lying. We're just giving them the material they need to be able to justify what happened. And yeah, so for us, that's an important part. Whether it's a contract or letter or some other document, we try to supply that.
That's nice. That's nice. The very last question, how many users does HyperSKU have, and how much turnover do you make, guys, per year, let's say 2020? If it's not confidential information, of course.
We have about 10,000 connected stores. They're not all active, but about 10,000 connected stores. So that gives you an idea. I think we have maybe 40,000 accounts, but only 10,000 of them have a connected store.
Mm-hmm.
That is roughly to give you an idea of the scope. Revenue-wise, I'm not think I can disclose that, but we are trying. We're a startup. We're 2.5 years old. Every year, our goal for this year is to go 5 times last year. For us, it's all about growth. So 5 times last year, or maybe I can share that the goal is to do 25 million this year.
That's a huge number.
Yeah. So for us, it's really a very we try to grow aggressive, but not in a way where servicing everyone that we see, because there needs to be a match from both sides. Our time is really spent a lot, like I said, on account management. So that's something that is very important to to manage. Yeah. And if you don't have enough people, then you cannot offer the service you want to offer.
Yeah, and your headquarters are in China, right?
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah.
Chinese-based company. So
Yeah.
what are the plans now in Europe? What are you gonna do in European office? Are you gonna supply the products from China in Europe, and you're gonna store these products in Europe, and you're gonna offer like shipping from Europe to the rest of the world, or how is it gonna look HyperSKU in Europe?
So one thing that we're going to do is build a team here. So have presence in different countries to be able to meet people face to face, especially the big sellers, but also be present at events. There are a lot of e-commerce events. Find partners that are helping us to grow and get exposure. That's part of the team. So more marketing and sales. We are gonna do a warehouse, but the warehouse means that someone can put stock in our warehouse. So it's not that we are gonna keep our own stock. So there will be in Europe. Yeah.
Okay, in Europe. Okay.
So there will be in Europe. We will have a warehouse in US. We already have one. That's I think the main role. It's an extension of our China team. The China backend, the logistics, the sourcing, the purchasing is all still done in China. We're not going to change that. It's not going to move to Europe. We're just going to be an extension to localize. Our strategy is localization. That's something that we see that most people that get disappointed with buying from AliExpress or anything is not so much the price, it's much more the communication. And that's something that we want to solve.
That's interesting. So for you now, as I know, you're 1 month in Europe after living 10 years in China. How do you personally feel coming back home? Do you miss China already? Do you have any plans to come back to live full time in China?
It's yeah. I think China is part of my life and will be, because my wife is Chinese and I have 2 kids. So that's not gonna. Half of my family is, well, my family of my wife is also my family is Chinese. So that's definitely not gonna change. I love I really enjoyed my time. I didn't want to move from China because it's just like, I think this is a great chapter, a new career. I think e-commerce is on the rise. China gonna be leading it, and I want to be on the wave leading it when they go expand overseas, in this case Europe. So I'm quite excited about that. For me to come is very challenging. Although I'm a local, I never lived here with a family. It means I need to do immigration for my wife. I need to make arrangements here. My kids don't have a local registration number because they've been born outside of China, outside of Europe. So a lot of these kind of things. So the last month, a lot came on my plate. Besides settling, getting your family here, the house that you're staying needed to a lot of rework on that. So it's been last month very challenging. I'm much better this week than I was the last few weeks, I must say. But now mostly excited about what we're going to start. Yeah.
That's nice. So, Simon, thank you very much for your time. It's been almost 1 hour and a half. I know you're busy. I know there are a lot of stuff since it's July 2nd, and we had a lot of changes after July 1st. So I really, really appreciate your time. I do hope you're going to love living in Europe as well. And I do hope to talk to you after some time and see how is your life
Definitely.
in Europe, how HyperSKU is doing in Europe. And for those who listen here, who watched our video, maybe we will put some information how to contact HyperSKU, how to contact you if there are some need of that. And yeah, just big kudos for you that you joined my
Thank you so much, Aivaras. I hope to see you in real life as soon as well. I really would love to go to Lithuania.
If you come here, let me know. I will definitely arrange you some kind of tourist attraction here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye, Simon.